Well, can you believe that XRP? Holy smokes, it's just ripping. I can't believe it. I'm so excited. But actually, we always talked about how this was going to happen. And so I have to talk about XRP for a while. There's a lot of assets that are just like ripping up and then they kind of slowly come down. And I don't know about you, but I'm not smart enough to always know what those are. And so I want to tell you that I just have a buy and hold mentality. I don't try to bounce around all the time. In fact, I want to recommend a phenomenal channel. And these are God-fearing people. They're young guys. They're two brothers. I think they're from Lebanon. I'm not for sure, but I really, really regard them high. And they're, it's Black Swan Capital. They just did the best 12-minute video, I think it was, on how people get rich. And I would say that I essentially followed what they've said. And I would encourage you to follow it too, because everybody's got the same opportunities. Everybody doesn't get to start with the same amount. But wise people with wise principles, and I'm going to throw in that godly, prophetic advice is going to make a big difference. And, you know, there's irrational things that don't make any sense that are going on. And I'm going to tell you that I think that these 8 wells of blessing that Kim Clement prophesied about, they're not intellectually what Wall Street advisors are telling you about. And there's 2 reasons for that. One is Wall Street advisors, this might be news to you, but they only sell you advice. They don't give you advice. Usually you have to pay for financial advice. And Kim Clement wasn't trying to make money. He just had these ideas. I see people respond irrationally to these ideas. Wise investors make rational choices and they don't flip out in the market. So months ago, I said, hey, I'm gonna have these kids over, you know, young people. They were from 9 to 21 probably, most of them high school, college age. And I did a long session. It would have been like 2 hours long with them, had pizza and stuff. And it went really well, but my camera didn't record it, so I didn't really talk about it because I couldn't really show it. But what's funny about a high school kid that was there that bought XRP, he's made so much money because I think he bought it at about 50 cents. And so, you know, it's hitting $3. It's $2.70 as we speak. And so he's made a 5x return in 3.5 months. He's made a 5x return on his money. And so he kind of frantically called via his dad and said, hey, he's got more money from mowing lawns. He wants to, you know, do more. Shall he do more? I don't want to tell people what they should do. I can talk about what I would do. And so I look at all these things and I watch God pop them up and they come back down. They pop them up and they come back down. I think that's God kind of saying, hey, watch this one. It's the real deal. It's really going to do it. And there's some that Kim Clement didn't talk about, like Shiba Inu or Lunk, that a lot of people have had prophetic dreams about. And I actually believe those are prophetic investments. And I think that these things that we can invest in are going to be engaged in the first year of the wealth transfer. But I know, and I wrote about in the second book that will be coming out at the end of the year, at the end of this month, the wealth transfer is going to go on for 4 years. I think that the part that we can invest in, these 8 wells of blessing, are going to happen, the majority, in 2025. But many of them have started to pop up. And so what do you do if you see those things pop up? And then what do you do when they really start going? So this high school kid said, man, you know, at that time he'd made 4x. Now he's made 5x on that original investment. I think he bought $500 worth of XRP. So he just, you know, has more money than he's ever had, and he wants to buy some more. But what I would do is like, XRP is about $3. I don't buy when it's at its peak. I look at silver and I'm going, man, silver is like $31, $32, $33. I remember when I paid $42 for some in 1981, silver is still less than half. I mean, it's not even a third of what it should be. And so when XRP was under $1, I thought it was a brilliant move. And I've got a lot of XRP, but XRP started moving. And so there's other things that haven't started moving. And I, as an investor, and I mean, that's what I am, I'm an investor. I'm not saying that I know everything. I'm not so smart, but don't chase things up. Look around. What else is God talking about? What did the prophets that got this part right say also are opportunities? So, we know the first 4 wells are dinar. Hasn't happened yet. It's the craziest one of all. I bought some more last month. I have a generous portion of dinar. If and when it goes, it's going to be amazing. But, I've been sitting on XRP, and it's honestly, I'm light into XRP because I actually spent a whole bunch of money on it, but I've only doubled my money in XRP, which is really sad because I could have, here's a high school kid that's made 5X, and I've only doubled mine because that means I paid, close to $1.50 for mine. That's just how it works. So it's not like I'm making, huge returns on it. But I'm not, at $3, I'm not buying more XRP until I have so much money I don't know what to do with. So I think that silver looks really good. I think dinar looks good. And BBB has bounced up and then it's way back down. And so I think that looks good. And so I just want to give you a perspective on what you should think about. Emotional, non-intentional investors chase investments up. Rational, experienced investors look around and say, what else could I, put money into, and what am I not going to regret? So I wanted to talk a little bit about, what's your strategy? So I was talking to another guy. He's my age. He's in ministry. He's got a few thousand that's turned into quite a few $1,000s because he's heavily invested in crypto. And so now, he's really done, very well. I mean, he's 3x'd his investments, and he's really excited. He's going, shall I start to sell? And what I'm waiting for is what Kim Clement talked about. Kim Clement talked about things, if you do the math, my brother and I have had many conversations about this. He's not talking about a 10x or even a 20x. I've never got a 20x in my life return. No, I don't know anybody who really personally has on one investment. But that's what I see coming. I see these investments that Kim Clement talked about. 20x doesn't get us where he's talking about. Even 100x doesn't get us there. And so either you've got faith for it or you want to be rational. And it's really odd, but I think your faith is going to combat your mind and your intellect. And some of you may go, well, I'm going to be intellectual, I'm going to be wise. And I don't think that wisdom has to conflict or lose to faith, but I think that there's a tension. And, did God bring you into this, or did you get into this thing yourself? I mean, I've done super well in real estate, but I've never done anything that, it's just different with real estate because you borrow a lot of money in real estate, and I wouldn't recommend that you borrow money with crypto, but there's ways that you can make a whole bunch in real estate, but it's just different, So what's the exit strategy like? I mean, if you're in your 20s or 30s, I think that you're going to keep working and keep being productive, and you probably didn't have as much to put in. If you were somebody, the people I know who are over 40, they had significant money to put in. I'm talking significant is, over 10,000. I think that you're approaching significant investment at that point. And nobody's going to retire with 10,000 currently, the returns that have been experienced. But let's say you had 100,000 in. Now people are starting to go, man, they think if they had 1 million that they might, be ready to retire. And they might, if they would have done it right, they could be halfway to 1 million if they had 100,000. So are you going to retire or what does this look like? And I'm going to answer it from a different perspective. What is God asking you to do? I don't encourage you to just retire and coast. I think that what the kingdom of God, because that's really what I'm passionate about. That's what Jesus taught. That's what the disciples were hungry for. Even Jesus, after we talked about it last week, after he died on the cross, in the next 40 days, he came back many times and visited the disciples, and he talked to them about the kingdom of God. And the kingdom of God is about engaging, and I don't believe it's only about church. It's about being called to business. It's about being called to the arts. It's about being called to government. And I think that some of you are going to begin to hear the call, and your resources are going to begin to multiply, and you get to start dreaming those dreams that maybe this is going to finally be the time. I felt a desire to begin to move in this direction, but it just didn't make sense. But maybe I'm going to be freed up. And so I want to tell you, I don't want you to lack faith and act on too small of a return. I'm holding out, and I have to be careful. I can't tell you what to do. I'm holding out for over 100x on many things. Sometimes if I can take some off the table, yeah, I think that that's probably prudent. But I think that God is going to bless thing after thing after thing, and they're going to happen one at a time. Kim Clement really talked about the 8 wells are going to happen over a year, and that was interesting that he said that. But the wealth transfer is going to happen over a 4-year period of outpouring and blessing, and I write about that in the next book. And so I would encourage you to take a long-term perspective. Don't be satisfied with too small of a blessing, but realize you're blessed in order to be a blessing, and you're going to be called and impassioned to engage. And you may be a minister, and maybe that's where you're called to minister. But many of you, even if you are doing things at your church, that's great, but we're called to the will of God would come and the will of God would be done. And I think we're called to engage. I've had some meetings with regional leaders in the last week. I went to talk to county leadership, and I've been talking to city leadership. And because I think there's things that need to happen, and you need to have influence with those people. And I think some of you are thinking that you just never saw the benefit to that because as a Christian, you didn't know that you should get to know those people. But I believe that God is going to give you favor with those people, and he's going to give you opportunity, and you need to walk through that door, and you need to claim the seat at the table that God has for you, and you need to begin to receive the blessings that he's got for you and the prosperity that he's got for you, not so that you can just consume it and show everybody all the stuff that you've got. That's not what it's about. But it's about being a blessing, about being a part of the kingdom, and having a long-term plan. And so, I've almost always got my journal around here, and I like to have a nice pen. And one time I was talking about that pen. And I write in my journal, "Dear God," and I ask questions. And sometimes I tell him things, and other times I ask him things. And I think it's an important thing. One of the things that I personally think, and I actually had a conversation with a family member over Thanksgiving about this, and they didn't agree with my perspective. But I believe that we are the only creation that can dream. These dogs can have a bad dream, and it's kind of funny to watch their legs quiver and stuff like that when they're, chasing a cat or a squirrel or whatever. I don't know what they're doing, but they're fun to watch when they're having kind of a weird dream. But, I'm not talking about that kind of dream. I'm talking about dreaming with God. And really, I was thinking about it this morning as I was praying this morning. Psalms 37:4, delight yourself in the Lord, and he will give you the desires of your heart. God knows what the desires of your heart, but you need to delight yourself in the Lord, and then he will bring you. So as we embrace God and run after him, and I ask him, I'm like, God, what can I do for you? What do you want me to do for you? I think it's such a great question. And then as you begin to lean into him, he's going to give you dreams. And he may give you a dream to have a nice toy or a nice boat or a nice house. Are you going to consume that upon yourself, or are you going to share it? Because I think that we can share things. I'm not saying you can have anything you want and just share it and then it's okay. No, it's not that simple. But it's also not so simple that conservative Christians without faith can just condemn those who come into great wealth, and they could say, oh, you should never live in a house over 2,000 square feet. Oh, you should never buy a new car. Dave Ramsey says this, Dave Ramsey says that. Well, it's about your relationship with God. It's about the dreams that he gives you. It's about your delighting yourself in him. And then he will assist you with the desires of your heart. And I believe that you're called to assist him with the desires of his heart, because you were called to do good works which God prepared in advance for you to do. That's Ephesians 2:10. So we're in this for the long haul. There's difficult times coming, but it's obvious that the times of blessing are coming. And as these blessings come, don't get focused only just on one thing. I'm looking at everything. And, for a while when silver went up, past $34, $35, I wasn't buying more silver. But when it got below 30, then I was jumping in. And then I decided, I'm going to start focusing, more on crypto. And so that's what I did. And there's some that still haven't gone yet, that we know. Dinar and BBB haven't gone. And so wise investors look where they know it's going to go in the future, but it hasn't gone yet. So those are just some of the advice and just checking in. I'm praying for you. I had a meeting with Lauren today, and we are looking in May now at the first 2 weeks of May for a week-long cruise, and we're going to do a survey, and we're going to, find out where you'd rather go, whether you'd rather go join us in Alaska or the Caribbean. It's right at the end of the Caribbean season and right at the beginning of the Alaska season. And so I'm going to ask that question, where would you rather go if we do a wealth transfer cruise? So that's kind of fun. I'm praying for you guys that you'll have wisdom, that you'll be excited, that your focus will remain with the kingdom of God and not just, your own temporary wealth winnings, but also enjoy the blessings of your investment, because we are entering a time of blessing and prosperity to a degree that most people will not believe on the other side of it. So have a great day.